Yo, JD here, Limitless, and as you can see, this isn't a setup video today. This is actually going to be more of a discussion. Well, apart from my review video I did a couple of weeks ago, I don't really do these kind of videos, but I thought it's something that really needed to be done because, unfortunately, this game, I'm actually getting pretty bored of it already, and I think that's a major red flag because when you get a game, you don't expect to get bored of it after 1 to 2 weeks or 3 weeks. That shouldn't be happening. And this video, really, I just want to be talking about what I feel they should be doing for the next game and where I think they're going wrong, to be honest. And I want to hear what you guys think as well in the comments. What features you think should be included for the next game, and what you think their biggest downfall is really on the games they've made so far on the F1. But this game, I enjoyed it at the start, but I think it was mainly because it was just a different handling model. It was a lot more understeery. The traction was harder in some areas, like from high speed corners, like going on the throttle was a bit harder, but low grip, coming out of low speed corners, it was pretty easy. But yeah, I think it's just initially just getting a different game because I was so bored of the last game as well. That I really enjoyed this game at the start, but obviously through the Mario Kart shit techniques and retarded driving styles that people are doing now, it's getting quite annoying, and it's just taking the complete fun factor out of the game, really. And considering you can brake so late as well, it's just so hard to like do good battles with people in this game, and it's just AIDS, really. It's just the tyres are just still scripted. They're not completely scripted like last game, but it just still don't feel that fun to drive on. And it's just, this game, unfortunately, I don't think it is what it is. It's just a filling game from last game to the next game, and next game I think really has to deliver, because if they didn't lose the license for it after the next game, then I think they'll just lose us. I just don't think people like us would be paying, and the casual people wouldn't. That's all they would have, and I think they would get bored of it as well. Because just touching on the next game now, I think their career mode, I haven't really had that much experience in it, but the main reason is because it just seems to be the same as like online, really. Like a Grand Prix mode, it just seems to be an offline Grand Prix, and there's no like story to it, no annotations or any cinematics between scenes and like rising up through the ranks and anything like that. And that's what they did for like Tucker Race Driver 2 and like Grid 1, and they were made by Codemasters, and it just seems Codemasters are actually taking a step back from their earlier games. It just seems to be the opposite, really, to what it should be. It's their first earlier games are actually their best games, because Tucker Race Driver 2 was amazing. I absolutely loved the career mode in there, like how you were actually going through the story itself and going through different scenes, and like I just don't see why they can't do it with this if they're trying to appeal it to like the casual people who play it as well. And the whole story of F1, of rising up through the ranks, because it's the top formula, that's what it is. I think that's what they really need to do for the next game. They just need to make it more exciting, because that's why I haven't played it, because it would just feel the same as doing like league races or in like an online race. It just feels like I'm just doing F1 2014 car setting and that's it. But more talking about the online, because that's what I play the most, and that's why that's what I've got the most experience on. I just think stuff like the setups really need to be a lot more complicated, because for too long now it just seems to be the same, and F1's meant to be one of the most complicated like cars to set up in the world, and we've got 1 to 11. So I know this game isn't a full sim, and it's not. I know it's not trying to be a sim, and I don't want it to be a full sim, but it just, in order to just make it better, and just to make it appeal to more people, and to bring the skill gap between players higher, and just to make it more difficult, because that's what I think it is. I think it's too easy. It's too easy, and for people who play it, who've played it throughout the whole franchise and series, it's the same difficulty every time, but with just different characteristics in the car. And that's not what you want really. You want to be challenged in games, and for people who really put the time into it to stand out, but also for the online as well. Corner cutting and extending, I know because of how the game is, and it would be quite difficult to implement, but we've got white lines in the game. Why can't we have it so 2 wheels going off outside the track actually warrant like a penalty or like a warning? I just don't see why that would be so difficult. Like, it may be that like the white line would act as an invisible barrier, because we already got invisible walls in this game, so I don't see why it can act like an invisible barrier or like a sensor of some sort. And if 3 wheels go outside that white line and you do it twice in 1 lap or 3 times in 1 lap, you get a 5-second penalty. Or in qualifying, as soon as you do it, like more than 2 wheels or 3 wheels touch it, then it's an automatically invalid lap. I just don't see why they can't implement that for every track for using the white line, like before the curb starts. I just don't see why they can't do that really. And it just seems to be the same for every game, like the same corners, and it just doesn't really seem to change. It just seems to be like Codemasters have just tried to keep it at their comfort zone really, whilst I'm not going to say they're being lazy or anything, because I'm sure they're not, because building these games you have to be very talented and skilled to do it, because not the average person could do it. But it just seems to be they haven't really tried to take a step forward, and that's what I'm really hoping for next game. I really hope that's what they're trying to do, is to really push the boundaries of the software and the hardware we've got available with the next gen console now. And just also talking about online as well, just stuff like the replay fear, or like a replay kind of system, because games like PGR4 and even Tokka, I believe, actually have a replay fear or system, and I just don't see why that would be so difficult to do. And it would just make the game so much more fun. It would make people who do YouTube upload more. It would encourage people to actually record their races more and actually participate in races, and it'll just get people wanting to play the game more. And I just don't see why they haven't really done it yet. But again, for next game, I think it has to be a must really, and just making the game just a lot more flexible and just a lot more options for us as players, because we've had the same helmets now for the last 3 to 4 years, and even if we had the same designs, there's been no feature to just change like the colours of certain layers or anything. It's just for this game we've had 1 extra helmet one extra helmet, and that's it. And as a player, you don't want to be paying £40 for the same game, and it just seems to be they just added a bit more for me on the pad. They just added a bit more understeer, and that's it really. But they just need to really expand on the features from the next game, like possibly also having like a practice mode for online, because right now the only way you can practice if you're not with your mate online is to just go in a Grand Prix mode, and we all know what the AI is like. They just hold you up every single chance they get. So possibly having a replay fear on online practice mode would just satisfy both the casual people who just play the game, who are new to the game, and that brand new people, beginners you can call them, and people who have actually played this series for a long time. It would appeal to them. Like games like F1 2006, if people played that on the PS2, that had a more of a realism factor and setup options than this game, and we're in 2014 and that was in 2006. So I think they've got the resources to do it, but they just seem to be really in their comfort zone. I think they're running the risk of, as I said before, if not losing a license and just losing popularity, and like people won't come back to the game and won't play it again, because you've got games like Project Cars coming up that will be a very big competitor against Codemasters, because they'll have F1 cars in there. They'll be completely equal cars as well, because we all know that we've had issues with this. However, in this game, to be fair, it does seem to be quite equal. But even like the characteristics and the handling does still feels different. So I just don't see how they I don't see that simple things they just haven't really addressed, like the corner cutting, the curbs, the side pod glitches, those kind of things. Like people in the F1 community, like Matty G, Team at Marduk, Arava, we've all said the faults of the game, and they've all have access to this as well, and they just haven't really seemed to have done anything about it. They just seem to just keep it the same, and hopefully people will still buy the game whilst not trying to implement any new features much. But hopefully I'm wrong. I really want to be wrong for next game, but I think this will be the last chance really. But just wrapping up this video now. I know it sounds pretty much like a rage video of some sort, but those are my views on it and what I feel they really need to do next game. They just need to make it a lot more, just more options and customizable really, just with online itself, the options you can do, the setups, I know you can't change deliveries and that because that's all down to license, but with helmet designs, in-game commentary, because we've had the same race engineer for the last fucking 3 games, and the career mode, there's no excitement factor to it. There's no story. You turn up, you select a car at the start of the season, you have the same engineers in the garage for every single team, the same setups, and that's it really. And I think that's why they're falling down, because they just haven't really tried to go out their comfort zone and really try and expand on going into new markets, and not just focusing on trying to keep the beginner or the newbie kind of players, but whilst they need to actually start addressing the people who actually play the game like seriously and I've actually been playing it for a while. Because at the moment, if they keep doing it this way, it's just not going to be fun, and people will move on to other games. But I just want to hear what you guys think of the situation, what game if you enjoyed the most, and what you feel they need really for the next game. I'm also thinking from the online as well, I think maybe something like a tournament mode of some sort, because games like PGR4 had a daily tournament where you do one track, qualifying lasts from 8 in the morning till 8 PM. It's like a time trial kind of thing, just a random track, random car, and they could do that over this really. It could just be a random car, completely random fixed setup, so it wouldn't be completely default. They would choose to set up randomly, and you would have to drive it around that track, and everyone's in the same car for a time trial. And at qualifying end of the day, the top 10 get split into different groups, and so forth, so on and so forth, into different heats, and then you could have a final at the end of it every day. And I think that would just be brilliant really, just having that. It would just make people want to interact and actually play the game properly, and I just really think they need to add in something like that, because that would bring people together again. But that's enough of me talking now. I'm going to wrap up this video. Just let me know what you guys think of the whole situation. What game have you enjoyed the most, and what would you recommend for next game? And that's it from me. Cheers for watching, and see you next video.